God has a good and beautiful purpose for human sexuality. Even when it doesn't feel that way, it's true. It was created with intention, with meaning, revealing something about God and about us. And as we learn to trust Him with our sexuality, it draws us closer to Jesus. This is the Christ Centered Sexuality Podcast. We're glad you're here.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the conversation. I'm Katie.
I'm SJ.
And today we have our good friend Nathan, who in a couple episodes back we talked about SJ and I have been friends for about 17 years. And actually Nathan came along right around at the same time.
Yeah.
So
maybe I was there first. I'm not the third wheel here. Come on.
we all showed up at the same
We all
time.
showed up at the same time. Yeah.
But Nathan, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us about who you are and maybe even your education so far. We all did our School of Biblical Studies together with Youth with a Mission.
Yep.
That was 2009 to 2010. And from there, you went on to do more things. So share a little bit about that and then about your family. And
So I've known SJ and Katie for a grueling 17 years. It's been 17 years?
17 years.
Oh, man, it's
This
awesome.
September.
Fall, right?
Yeah.
We're
September.
very close friends. And through studying the Bible and then just spending time together. And goods and the bads, we've been through it together, and they're very close. So, but yeah, we did SPS together. And then I worked with a Bible school for several years, went to seminary, and got my master's in biblical languages. And now SJ, we were at seminary at the same seminary at the same time.
Also a nerd.
So you're also a nerd.
really the only one.
Maybe I'm a little more nerd because I did biblical languages.
Maybe.
But then now I work with theology, teaching theology and church history, and just have a real passion for that of we need to know the word, we need to know the scriptures, but we also need to know our history as Christians, and we need to know how do we actually take the words of the Bible and give meaning to it and apply it to whatever cultural context we're in. So that's what I'm really passionate about. I am married. God brought a wonderful woman into my life. We met in Taiwan, actually. She's not Taiwanese. She's from Michigan. Her name's Catherine, or I call her Kat. And we've been married for just about 10 years.
Woo.
8 years, 9 years. And we have 3 kids, 3 boys that are 5, 3, and 1. So
Yay.
that's my life.
Busy household.
It is a busy household, and we just moved to a new house, so it's been a crazy last couple months, but life is good. God is really good.
And where are you from, Nathan?
I am from the Great White North, Canada, above America, if you're wondering. I'm also American, too. Dual citizen.
Must not have been that great.
Well, yeah, now.
Just kidding.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, Nathan, we're so happy that you're here. Thank you for saying
Yeah.
yes to this. And this is not the last time you guys are going to see Nathan, and that I'm really excited about. So, today we're talking about the word. I don't know.
The word of the day.
The word of the day is desire.
is D. We are a D.
Today we're engaging in this conversation of desire. It's no secret that we as humans, we have desires. And in this context, we talk a lot about sexual desires. And I think for this podcast, it's important to understand, A, what is desire? And do we fight desire? Or is it something that we form? So that's the conversation that we are going to dig in today. And Nathan has done quite a bit of work in this, and he's a really fun voice, a wise voice, a knowledgeable voice on this, and this is just a conversation that we need to have, because I think historically the church has discipled us to kind of more fight or suppress desire. You guys can agree or disagree with that, but we think so we're just gonna dig into that conversation and have some fun with it. So you guys good to go? You ready?
I love it.
You ready?
I love it.
So so Nathan, do you have how would you define desire? Do you do you have a definition for us? Or
I mean, desire, I would use other words that are synonymous with it. What you love, what you want, the things that you do that pull you to do what you do, that is your desire. So And a lot of times it can be sensory too. I desire food. I want to eat. I want to hang out with somebody. I want to see the sunrise. So wants, loves, desires, passions. I would have those all basically as synonymous words. And love could be a catch-all kind of for it in a sense, but it is really, what do you love, and you're gonna do what you love to do. Yeah, it's like, I mean, we'll probably get into this more, but why do people sin? It's not because they hate it. It's actually because we love it.
Yeah.
So we sin because we want to. We, in a sense, we love sin, which is a hard pill to swallow, but you will do what you want to do. That's who we are as human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is something that is different than what has happened over the last probably couple centuries with Enlightenment thinking. I think we have been kind of captivated or taught maybe that humans are predominantly thinking. Like we just need to cultivate our minds. We need to pray more, know more scripture, and if we do that fixes us or changes us. How would you see those two at odds, or maybe even like how did we get there as humans with like like, hey, we're just thinking creatures?
So Enlightenment thinking and this idea of secularism. A guy named René Descartes in the 1700s, people probably heard this quote. He said, "I think, therefore I am." But philosophical thought over the last few hundred years basically started trying to figure out, how do we know truth? How do we look at the world and all that stuff? And some of these philosophers were actually Christians to begin with, but they were just trying to figure out, how do we know anything? But René Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am." So he kind of reduced humanity down to, and James K. Smith, there's this great book called "You Are What You Love." We're thinking things. We're like a brain on a stick. We're a brain in a vat, and there's a computer hooked up to it. And the only thing we can really know is that we're thinking. And so he kind of reduced humanity down to the brain. And as Christians, I think we have actually, in the last 30 years or 40 years, I mean, I've only been alive for, how old am I? 38. Quick math, yeah. I think we took that on a little bit in the way we did discipleship, actually. So the way, and in my own story growing up, I felt like the way I followed Jesus wasn't implicitly taught, but it seemed like it was almost a stoicism of like, well, desires are bad, so you want to stifle all desire and just be this kind of like stoic self, and that's how you follow Jesus. And it's actually not who we are. So Enlightenment thinking, secular thinking has created a fractured human being, that you have some people, there's this romantic response, it's called, where people started saying, well, no, it's all about who I am and my experience and what I love. And so you had this romantic response to this very scientific, sterile world that's just like, well, we just think and we just reason. It's just all facts and data, and that's all it is. So you kind of have two different, it's either my experience is who I am, or it's just facts and data, and forget about your desires and all that stuff. But as Christians, I think we kind of took that on a little bit, at least my own walk. And it was almost like to follow Jesus is to eliminate desire, because desire is obviously bad. And we quote a verse from Jeremiah where it's like, the heart is deceitful above all else. So we think there's nothing, we can't trust our heart, we can't trust our desires, we can't trust our emotions. And the way, and James K. Smith talks about this, way we did discipleship was mainly information. And what we need to do is actually reformation. We need to reform our desires and wants and who we are. Information is not alone going to change us.
Interesting.
That's really good.
Yeah. No, that's really, really good. Really, really helpful. I think it's interesting what you said, how Enlightenment thinking, it reduced us as humanity.
Yeah.
Because it's like, there's just what comes to mind is like those various scriptures of like, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, body, and soul. And Enlightenment basically narrows it down, just love the Lord your God with all your mind.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And so what does that do? What does that do to our discipleship if we're only focused on a aspect of who we are as humanity, and forgetting that, okay, no, we have a will and we have an emotions, we do have a heart. Did you ever feel, and Katie, you can chime in whenever you want, but like when, like, I'm trying to think of how to form this. Like, was it frustrating for you when, like, what did discipleship, I guess the question I'm asking, like, what did discipleship look like when it is from a just fix your brain or fix your mind? Like how does that show up? Because I'm sure I've experienced that, and I would just like to have some language for it. Yeah. And I'm sure we've all experienced it, but then maybe that shift of like, okay, like what is mind discipleship look like? I
Yeah,
don't know what the
totally.
right term
Yeah.
is for that, but
Well, it's mainly you think of, surely if I just give people the right information, then they're going to live this out. So within Christianity and discipleship there, you have a small group. You have someone who's struggling with pornography, let's say, and I had my own struggle with pornography for almost a decade. Sometimes you think, okay, well, as long as you memorize the right Bible verses. So like 1 Corinthians 10:13, no temptation has seized us except what is common to man, and God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, He will also provide a way out so that you can stand up under it. So I'd memorize these verses, stuff in Romans. So it was like, as long as I know all the right information, and I'm going to the Bible, which is great. I love the Bible. It's the inspired word of God. But information alone did not change that craving and desire that I had for disordered sexuality in the form of pornography.
yeah.
I needed to. So when we try to disciple people that way, we're just discipling a part of what it is to be human. And you think about the incarnation, Jesus fully took on humanity, body, soul, spirit, mind, will, and emotions. So we have to disciple in all these things. And if we just try to do mind, it's like we're trying to solve the problem and we're not even recognizing who we are as people. Like we're trying to solve this problem and we're just doing one little aspect of it. It's like we blow this whole wall out. We're missing a wall in the house. And we're like, well, let's just put some wallpaper up and that's going to fix it. And it's like, well, you actually need to actually frame a new wall, put drywall on, put insulation in, whatever it is. And it's like, so we're trying to fix a problem and we're just trying to like, just fix one aspect of it. And it's like, well, as human beings, we're actually a lot more than just the mind. So I think the way we do it as Christians sometimes is I just need to get the right information to people.
Yeah.
So give them the right book, read the right books. And I'm all about reading. I mean, SJ, same with you.
Yeah.
I love to read. I
Yeah.
want to know information. Part of my job is teaching theology, which is information. But information is not going to change us. I knew all the right information about pornography when I was addicted to it.
Yeah.
The way I came out of it was reforming my wants and desires, is how I actually saw victory in that area of my life. So
Interesting.
information alone, I read books on it. I knew the stats. I knew how horrible it was. That didn't change my loves of what I was doing.
So
Interesting.
Nathan, can I ask a question
Yeah.
then? What did that reforming of your desires actually look like? How did you reform those things?
Yeah. And it took, and this is, I started applying something called a habit loop before I even knew what it was when I was coming out of pornography. And I started realizing, okay, to reform, you have to physically do things. So this is a part of discipleship too, or in Christianity and evangelical Christianity, where sometimes it's like, well, just think your way into whatever it is. And we over spiritualize everything.
Yeah.
And it's almost like Greek dualism. It's like we're not saying it, but we almost reject the material world and we just want to spiritualize everything.
Yeah.
Like, well, you just meet Jesus in this, and you can meet Jesus anywhere, but there is a beauty to actually, we're material people in a material world, and matters to God.
Mm-hmm.
God works in and through the material world as he works with us. So in our own discipleship, we need to work in and through the material world, our physical body. So for me, I had to realize, okay, when am I tempted? And how can I not put myself in those situations, instead of just thinking like, well, I can do whatever I want. And when I'm in the situation where I'm tempted, just think and pray and quote Bible verses and that kind of stuff. And that's going to get me out.
And Nathan was a Bible quizzer, so
Yeah.
he had all the
Books of the Bible memorized. Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
So-
But I needed to, and I was applying something called the habit loop, which a habit loop is you have a cue, you have a craving, which is another way of saying want, desire, love. You have a routine that you do, and then you have a reward. So James Clear has wrote on this. A guy before him, Charles Duhigg, wrote on the power of habit. But it's who we are as people. Whether you're a Christian or a non-Christian, who we are as people, we do habitually do things, and that's what we do. That's most of the decisions you make during the day. You're actually not consciously thinking about it.
Yeah.
Some psychologists say up to 95% of what you decide to do during the day is unconscious decisions, subconscious. You're not thinking about it. So if that's who we are. So I was applying something called the habit loop before I even knew what it was. So I was trying to eliminate cues, which cues are sensory. I see something, I smell something, you taste something. Those are all things that'll set you off to do some kind of routine that you do, some kind of a habit that you do. So
like
I
I smell coffee.
yeah, and you want
and
coffee.
I want coffee.
Or
So that's
what's
that
the-
smell is like a sensory.
Cinnabon is the place called Cinnabon.
Yes.
Oh my gosh! So in Canada and West Edmonton Mall, and there's a place in the States. And Cinnabon, I think it must be part of their advertising. It smells like.
Yeah.
I walk by and I'm like, holy cow! I'm like, did I just get a cavity like smelling this place? Like it smells so strong.
Yeah.
But you smell it, and then what do you want? I want
I want a
Cinnabon.
Cinnabon.
So that would be
yeah.
a cue that's going to lead
Yeah.
to a routine.
Yeah.
And if you walk by Cinnabon every single day on the way to work at 8 o'clock every morning, your body's actually going to start saying, "Oh, this is what we do at 8 o'clock every morning. We get Cinnabon.
We smell Cinnabon and then we get Cinnabon.
We get Cinnabon." So I had to start. I had to start engaging myself holistically in order to come out of it. So the way I reformed my desires was not just thinking about it; it was stopping these sensory, actually physical things I was doing in order to reform this desire of wanting to look at pornography. And it took a while. That's the thing with habits. To reform habits, it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
It takes time. And at first, you might not see any success or you might not see any effects of it. And that's where James Clear, he calls it the valley of disappointment, where you're doing stuff for, let's say, for a couple weeks or a few weeks and you're not seeing any effects. And then people give up. He's like, you have to push through. It's not just a grid like that. It goes like this when you do the habit thing. And I did see it in my own life. So I don't crave it. It's been 12 years, 15 years, I don't know how long since I was like stuck in pornography. I don't crave it at all. I don't think about it. I don't crave it. I don't want it at all the way when I was stuck in it for 10 years. And it took reforming my desires to do that and looking at myself holistically. So physically applying stuff about,
That's
the way
so
I live
good.
my life. Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing all that.
Yeah.
So part of the reform, like, so you like, just to kind of go back to our original question, it's like, okay, are we fighting desire or forming it? What did it, and I don't know how to unpack this question more, but it's like, okay, clearly you were like trying to choose something, form it, right?
Yeah.
Did you have to, does fighting it or forming it mean suppressing it? Like how, like, because like we're sexual beings, right? And so how do we reform that, or what did we do and that kind of stuff? Like it just is like, okay, like was repressing any of that kind of stuff a part of your process, or is that a part of the process, or is it just trying to cultivate a different desire to replace the evil? I don't know if you want to call it evil, the unhealthy,
disordered
ungodly, the
desires.
disordered. Like there's so many words that we can use to describe it. Is that like, okay, you have a disordered desire. And our first instinct as Christians, probably, at least from what we've learned, is like, okay, we're just going to repress it. But how do we, like, you're in a sense saying that, like, okay, this habit loop can actually, you want to replace it. So how, like, did you just find a different desire then to replace it with? Is that basically?
So that's part of what people that talk about the habit loop and psychologists will say is you actually don't get rid of a habit, you replace it with a different one.
Gotcha.
That is one avenue that people will say is you actually can't just get rid of something. You have to replace it with something else. So yeah, like at night, I like to read. So one way, and when I struggle with pornography or even just bad thinking, it was when I'd go to sleep at night, I would just think about bad stuff, which is hard because it's like, so it's almost a sensory thing. When I went to sleep at night, I did the same thing every single night. So it was a habit. So then my body just knew, okay, every time you go to bed, this is what you start doing. You start thinking about something. So that was hard to replace because it's like, well, I have to go to bed at night.
Yeah.
Because part of the way you can get rid of habits is you get rid of the cue.
Right.
And it was like, well, I need to sleep. So I need to replace with something else.
Yeah.
So I read every single night before I go to bed now. I love reading novels. So in a sense, that would be something I replace that with. And now when I'm getting ready for bed and I go to sleep, what I want to do is I want to read. Because I did that habit over and over again. Now I don't have to think about it. What I want to do, my body wants to read when I go to sleep. So now I read a novel when I go to sleep at night, and I read pretty much every single night before I go to sleep.
Yeah.
My wife, Kat does too. Like we love reading. So that would be one way that I think you would do that. So there was a suppression in a sense that this is a disordered desire. It's lust. It's wrong. I need to suppress that. But part of what you want to do is actually cultivate different desires. And it's hard for guys, like, well, not for anyone that struggles with pornography or stuff like that. Because I feel like growing up, it was just told don't. It was just all like the negative stuff. So part of what, and I read this book called The Sex Talk You Never Got by Sam Jolman. Super, super good book. But how do we actually talk about the beauty of sex with single people? That's something too. And how do you do that for people that are 15 to 25, that their hormones are raging and they want to have sex and they're not married? And so that's something too. I don't know if I know the exact answer for it, but I don't know what you guys would say. But I think that's something we need to figure out too. And The Sex Talk You Never Got was a really good book for that. It talked about the beauty of what sex is. But in a Christian framework of keeping it right. So
yeah. I think that's really good. Yeah. I think I have 2 questions, and I think maybe this first one plays into what you just were asking about. How do we help people see the beauty of sex without maybe necessarily causing more temptation
or something?
But maybe for you, and if this is too personal, then you can say, but what did it take to get to a place where you said, okay, I want to want something else?
Yeah.
Because I think that maybe even knowing how to navigate that portion and cultivate that desire to desire something different would be helpful for us, even on the front end with people that we could help disciple. And I don't know.
Totally. Yeah. And I had struggled, like I said, with pornography for probably 10 years, teenager to early 20s. And I tried all the things, accountability partners. I did that. And honestly, accountability partners sometimes, especially if you're having an accountability partner that struggles with pornography as well, you just meet every week and just say, yep, I looked up porn again. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't help. I had a friend actually that we were doing that. And it was part of him. He felt like the Lord told him, I want you to tell the person on this Bible campus that we work with, the last person you'd want to know that you struggle with this. And so he did that, and it challenged me. I did the same thing, actually. So that started it. But then I had to get to a place, Katie, honestly, I was meditating on Matthew 5, verse 28 to 30 for like 2 weeks in my quiet times. And that's when Jesus is doing the Sermon on the Mount. He's functioning like Moses. You've heard it said. He's on a mountain saying, you've heard it said, saying commandments, and then like giving the hard issue behind it in a sense. And he says, do not commit adultery. But I tell you, if you look at a woman lustfully, you've already committed adultery in your heart. So he says that, but then after, I think it's verse 29 and 30, he says, if your right eye causes you to sin, gouge it out and throw it away. If your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off. It's better for you to enter life maimed or crippled.
A little dramatic.
Okay, Jesus, chill out. And I was just reading, actually, an early church father, Origen, took this a little too literally, actually, and did chop off something he shouldn't have chopped off. But anyways, people in the church said, I don't think you're supposed to take it that way. But
so Jesus is not the only dramatic.
So Jesus says that. So I was meditating on that for like 2 weeks, and I was like, man, this seems so extreme. And in the Bible school we'd worked with SBS, I was staffing it, teaching it. I was like, this seems very extreme. And we're like, well, it's figurative. But sometimes I feel like we do a disservice. It is figurative, but sometimes we say, well, of course Jesus is being figurative here, and we just move on. It's like, but why the graphic language?
Right.
Like, think about that. Imagine if I plucked out my eyeball and I came to class the next day and, well, you guys would notice, Nathan, you're missing an eye.
Yeah.
Or if I cut my hand off and I came and I just had a stub of, you know what I mean? That my right hand is just a stub. So I feel like the Lord is challenging me. Okay, Nathan, are you willing to do things to fight this sin that you have, this disordered sexual desire that you have, that is going to be noticeable to other people? If you gouge out your eye, it's noticeable. If you cut off your hand, it's noticeable. So I feel like I had to get to a place, and you guys, I was friends with you guys at this time, where I had to be willing to be vulnerable in a sense. And let's say, so part of I made this contract with myself of things I would not do for the next year. And one of them is like, I won't watch R-rated movies. I won't watch movies that have sexual immorality or nudity or whatever in the like description thing. There's this TV show called House I really like to watch, but it can have sexual innuendo in it and stuff like that. So I won't watch that in my room by myself. I had all these different things I did. But those first two things, let's say, and I was friends with you guys, literally, like, let's say we're hanging out on Friday night and we're going to put a movie in and it's R-rated. I'd be like, all right, sorry guys, you guys can watch it, totally good. I have to go home. And you might be like, well, why are you leaving, Nathan? Well, because I struggle with sexual immorality, and this is a vow, a contract, whatever you want to say, I've made that I don't want to do this. So I would actually have to be open, not with everybody, with certain people. This is what I'm doing. So that's honestly where it came to my life, Katie, I think, where I had to be like, I have to not want to do this more than having my shiny reputation or who I am in front of people, you know what I mean, be there.
Yeah.
I had to be open in that sense, like, yeah, I'm broken and I want to come out of this. And my close friends like you guys are going to know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you did that, do you feel like, because I think this is a really important part of a lot of people's journey, was that something that you were met with a lot of disappointment that caused a lot more shame in your life? Or do you feel like when you were vulnerable, you were met with grace and love and
Like from other people?
Yeah.
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 No, I don't think I remember any shame or anything like that. Probably more shame on myself. Yeah, I probably felt shameful. I mean, anyone who's struggled with sexual morality, they know it's wrong. You look at pornography, you do some act that you're not supposed to do, and you feel like crap after. You know what I mean? It's more like shame on yourself. But no, I don't think I ever felt shame from anyone else. But that was the beginning of my journey out of it. And that was the big turning point, honestly, is when I made that contract and I was meditating on those verses and realized I need to take, and here's the 2 words I use. You have to be proactive and intentional.
Yeah.
Willpower enough is not strong enough to stop a temptation. And Atomic Habits talks about it. Charles Duhigg and The Power of Habit talks about it. Willpower will work a couple times. I put myself in a situation where I'm in a room by myself with my computer. I have the opportunity to look at porn. I have enough willpower to resist and get out. You can do that a few times. Willpower is going to fail.
Yeah.
That's what everyone is saying, and it's true. So that's why we have to understand who we are as human beings, these habitual people, that we have to engage the whole body of who we are. We're sensory people. And these things are going to set off a cue. So how do I switch those cues? How do I eliminate those cues so then I don't do the habit of what's going on and have that craving to do that? I actually did have some resistance from like fellow Christians, I feel like, when I was doing that in my own journey the last 10 or 15 years of making it sound like it's works-based, or I'm just trying to do my own thing, or I'm not like trusting Jesus enough. But I would not agree with that.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's good.
Like the term behavior modification.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, for a few years ago, I think maybe I was a little too hardcore on it and like, this is going to solve everything. Whereas now I'm like, it's everything we need. I have a friend that's going to like a therapist and like, or going to a counselor and dealing with stuff. Do you do that? Yes, you do that. Do you apply the habit loop? Yes, you do that. Do you pray? Yes, you do that. Do you do theophostics or try to deal with wounds you have from a child? Yes, you do. You do it all. You do all of it. It's not an either or.
Right.
It's a both and, because we are holistic people.
Right.
So of course we're going to pray through stuff. Of course we're going to think of things that happened to me when I was a child that affect me now. Of course, we're going to do all that stuff.
Right.
So it's one aspect I think I can bring to people, a practical way of how to fight against wrong desires instead of just having a great worship time and walking out and being like, all right, sweet, that's solved.
Yeah.
Most of the time, that's not people's experience.
Yeah.
God does do that sometimes, but I think 99% of the time we walk out of that stuff and journey out of it.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's so good.
Yeah.
And I think in everything that you're saying, you're highlighting that the reforming of desire may look different for different people depending on their experience, like with therapy but a lot of it is that very all-encompassing physical as well as spiritual and emotional thing that happens. And so with that, would you say that desire the problem then? Or like, was desire something that God intended for us? Or
that's Katie reading this great book. It's called The Gift of Thorns by A.J. Swoboda. It's so good. But I feel like my narrative 15 years ago when we were first in SBS together, I almost felt like desire was bad. But desire is not bad. We are lovers first and not thinkers. We are and SJ, you said it earlier, the Shema prayer from Deuteronomy 6:4. You shall love the Lord your God. It's not you shall think about the Lord your God. It's not you're going to do this stuff, but the word is love. And the Old Testament, I mean, Deuteronomy is talking about God wants to circumcise people's hearts so they love him. Love. It's all over the place. Jesus in Matthew 22, what's the greatest commandment? You shall love the Lord your God and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Love is everywhere. And love, wants, desires, passions, that's all mixed up. So we are desiring creatures. That is who God has created us. Now, because of the fall and because of our broken humanness of who we are, we have disordered desires. And that's what Augustine, an early church father, said in the 300 or 400s. We have disordered desires. We have to reform. This was said, 1,600 years ago. Augustine was way ahead of his time. Now we have to reform those desires. So this book, he says, to be desireless is to be inhuman, is what A.J. Swoboda says in that, which I was like, wow,
say that one more time.
To be desireless is to be inhuman. So as we try to get rid of desire, we're actually becoming less human.
Wow.
Which I agree with him actually, totally on that. We are desiring creatures. We just have to figure out how to form the right desires. And our culture nowadays, so you had maybe in Christianity 20 years ago, I don't know, my own story, you just repress desire and you don't do it at all. In our secular culture, what's happening now is I am my desire, and every desire I have is great.
Yeah.
I'm going to indulge it.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course you should do that. But what we as Christians believe is desire actually is created by God. We are fallen human beings that need to be healed and need to be transformed by the power of Christ and the Holy Spirit. And now we reform new desires. So desire isn't the problem. It's disordered desires that is the problem. So yeah, he said, A.J. Swoboda said that to be desireless is to be inhuman, which I was like, wow, we are desiring creatures. It's primarily who we are. Thomas Cranmer, he was in the 1500s after the Protestant Reformation happened. He said this thing, he says, what the heart loves, the will chooses, and the mind justifies.
Wow.
So what the heart loves, and when I say loves, it's wants, desires, passions, what we're talking
Cravings,
about, cravings, all that. The will chooses, so you make a willful choice to do that thing.
I want coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to drive to the coffee
exactly.
stand.
You're going to drive down the road and get a coffee, and your mind's going to justify, well, it was worth it to spend that $5 on this coffee because I needed to get through the day.
Absolutely.
But you look at where that all began was the heart. It didn't begin in the mind, and it didn't begin with the choice that you made. What set it all off was I had a desire to do something. I chose to do that, and then I justified that in my mind. So Cranmer said that in the 1500s. So I'm like, that's who we are as people.
Yeah.
So what begins an action that we do is not thinking, it's desire. Maybe this is overkill. Almost every action you could say begins with a desire to do that.
Yeah.
And then I choose to do that thing. It's not, and what secularism and Enlightenment did is, well, we're thinking things, so we choose to do stuff first. And what Christians have said, it's like, and people have said basically throughout human history, is no, we desire, we want to do something, and then we choose to do that.
Yeah.
What would you say? Why did God? Because I've had this. I wrestle with this question quite often, and I get in arguments with the Lord over it. Like it's
who wins, SJ?
Yeah. Well, the Lord obviously wins all the time. Yeah, but I get in arguments with the Lord with it because for me, I just feel like when I can see the problem that happens from like sexual desire, and so like a lot of times I'm just like, okay, God, why desire?
Yeah.
Like, why did you create us as desiring beings?
Yeah.
But then why do we have sexual desire? And why is it such a pretty dominant part of our lives?
Yeah.
Like sexual desire is a pretty like big thing. So what would you say, like, why did God create us as not even with sexual beings, but just be human? Like to be human is to be a creature that desires.
Yeah. Why
Why did God create us as desiring creatures?
That's a great question, SJ. Katie, do you have an answer for that? Part of it could go back to the Trinity, actually. That as Christians, we believe in a triune God. So there's one God who eternally exists as three persons that are in perfect community, perfect love, perfect relationship with each other. So in 1 John 4, it talks about God is love.
Yeah.
Not that God just expresses love and does love. In his very being of who he is love. Why can he be love in his very being? He has to be a Trinitarian God in order to be love in his very being of who he is. So there has been perfect love between God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit, eternally past, eternally future, and we are invited into that. So I wonder, I've never been asked that yesterday, but that'd be one thought I would have is you act like that of which you worship. You reflect that of which you worship. Psalm 115, verse 1 through 8.
That's a really good statement, but also a really terrifying statement.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's really true.
So you will act like that. And Psalm 115 talks about statues, and they don't have, they can't smell, they can't see, they can't touch, and all this kind of stuff. And then it says, and all those who worship them become like them, right? Psalm 115. So it's in the Bible, but then this guy named David Foster Wallace, actually, who was an atheist, but he even recognized this exact thing in this Kenyan commencement speech in 2006, I think it was. He gave this speech, and he talked about we're worshiping creatures. This is a total atheist. He actually passed away. I think he committed suicide, actually, unfortunately. But he recognized we are worshiping creatures. You are going to worship something, and you will act like that of which you worship. So if God is perfect love, and love has to do with wants, desires, passions, then it makes sense. Us as image bearers, that God has made us in his image, one of the primary things of who we are is lovers, is people who love. Because our ultimate telos, our ultimate end of where we want to go is to be in Trinitarian relationship with God. Any other desire is going to fall short of that.
Yes.
So what happens in the world now is people, especially in the secular world that has rejected a transcendent God, it's like people know they want something else, and they're trying to find that in love and sex and money and greed, or whatever it is. Those are all temporary things. None of that is going to fulfill that ultimate longing, because only a Trinitarian God who's in perfect communion together is going to be able to fulfill that desire that you have.
Yeah. So you're saying, like, in a sense, our desiring nature is a way that we would image God.
Yeah,
in a sense,
I would. Reflect, image. Yeah,
because God. Because I think when I read the scriptures too, like it's like God is pursuing his people. God has a desire for his people. God wants relationship with his people. We were severed from relationship in Genesis 3.
Yep.
And so God wanted to restore that, and he sent Jesus. So he's a desiring creature. So therefore desire is, in a sense, it's a way that we can image God.
Yeah.
Now it's disordered.
Yep.
And we have to figure that out. With that, I don't know, Katie, what would you have? What do you think about that?
Yeah.
That's good.
I mean, I think I completely agree with what's been said. I also think that when we define love, we also have to consider the fact that it's self-sacrificing, and you do that for another person too. And so I think what Nathan is saying about the triune God, you have a desire to love and be loved at the same time. But that love you can't give without another person there. And so I think God intended us to have desire so that we could also give sacrificially and selflessly to the people around us in the way that he does with us.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we'd be able to do that without desire. There's something that I think has to happen in who we are to actually be able to give that way.
Yep.
So I don't know that robots can do that sort of thing,
Yeah, as the world we're living in.
Yeah.
Now. Honestly, in the next 10, 20 years as Christians, we're going to have to think about Imago Dei, image of God. Why does this theologically matter with AI, robots, all this kind of stuff, right? It's going to be a serious conversation of that kind of thing. But and God, some people would say, like, well, God created humanity because he needed someone to love. That's actually false. He perfectly embodied love. So A.J. Swoboda talks about this too, about longing and lust and the difference between them. God can perfectly love because he's loving not out of a lack. He is love. So that he can perfectly give that. As humans, a lot of times we're doing stuff out of lack. We're coveting, we want something because jealousy or that kind of thing has to do with we lack something we want.
Yeah.
God does not lack anything. So we've got to be careful too as Christians when we say, like, we're trying to make ourselves feel good as people. It's like, no, God didn't need us. And he had perfect love in himself.
Yeah.
He did not need to create humanity in order to have an object to love.
Right.
He already had that.
Right.
That's why Trinity actually is important. He had perfectly love within himself.
Yeah.
So he can perfectly give that.
Yes.
So we reflect that, but we're not perfect like God, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times we have jealousy or covetousness and that kind of stuff, and that's because we lack something and we want it. But God is not doing that out of lack.
Yeah.
So God expresses emotion, but it's different than us. He's not doing it out of lack or those kind of things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so with how do I know if a desire needs to be formed or reformed or not? Like what is my gauge with that? Because I mean, I have a lot of desires, I have a lot of cravings, I have a
Totally.
lot of wants or whatever. What do I do to like kind of sift through that and know, like, because I think in James, it talks about it's like your evil desires that lead to temptation, and temptation gives birth to sin.
Yeah.
So how do I know if my desires are evil or not?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, that's a great question, SJ. I mean, the Bible would be one of the first places to start.
Yeah.
And this is where, honestly, I feel like our secular culture has got to get to a place, and I think it's happening now a little bit, because they've been saying, like, just do whatever desire you want and every desire is good. I was just talking to someone about this the other day. Even the most secular person, atheist person, I think at some point they are going to say that desire is wrong.
Right.
They're going to get to but we've been pushing the line more and more and more as Western culture of, you can do that desire, you can do that desire, you can do that desire. And it's like, everyone at some point is probably going to come to a point where they're going to say, well, that desire you have is actually wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So as Christians, we actually are given a framework. And in Romans 8, verse 29, like, the goal of Christianity is not just to get to heaven someday, but it's actually to be conformed to the image of Christ. That's what
Right.
Romans 8, verse 29 says. And those whom he loved, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his son. And then in Romans 12, verse 2, it talks about transforming your mind. And the way you transform your mind is holistically as human beings, engaging ourselves bodily. But so for your question, SJ, are those desires lining up with, like, Jesus? We are actually supposed to be Jesus in this world.
Yeah.
You are Jesus. You are Jesus. I am Jesus. We are little Jesus. That's what Christian is.
Yeah.
Little Christ in this world. So are my desires conforming to Jesus and who he is? And so money isn't necessarily evil, but greed and the love of money is.
Yeah.
Sex isn't evil. Disordered sex and that kind of stuff
Lust
is.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
lust
yeah.
is. So we're on a journey our whole lives. This is what Christianity is for me, of reforming ourselves and transforming ourselves into the image of Christ. God is doing that. We participate with that, but we're becoming like Jesus in this world. But that is hard, SJ. Is it wrong for me to want to chill out at night and watch a TV show with my wife? Is that evil? Well, I don't think so. But if that takes over and I have to do that, I'm using that to numb and I'm using that to escape problems or stuff, then it might be a problem.
Yeah.
So it's hard, SJ, because I feel like for some people, they're like, I feel like the Lord's telling me not to do this. And for someone else, they can.
Yeah.
And sometimes in our Western mindset, we're like, well, it has to be black and white.
Yeah.
If you can't do this, that means it's a sin for everybody.
Yeah.
And I actually don't think it's that easy. I don't know what you guys think, but I actually don't think it's that plain and simple.
I think that's
I would
trying to
agree.
make discipleship into an equation and make it simple, but it's like that leaves out a whole like basis of like what is the Lord convicting us in, and what journey am I on? Because like the Lord may convict me in something that he's not convicting you guys in. And is there room for us for me to say, like, even in the season of life where you're like, okay, like I'm not watching R-rated movies right now. Like did that apply to us? But a way that we could love you in that season was saying, hey, we'll watch whatever you feel comfortable with. And so it's like, even though like you may be on this journey of forming your desires, a way that community can love you and come alongside and be like, hey, we're in it. And like that's the kind of people we should surround ourselves with, to be like, hey, I may not have the similar conviction, or I may not be on the same journey as you, but man, I'm gonna do whatever I can to support you and as God forms your desires and come alongside. And so
totally.
But yeah, no, I'm in agreement. I think the Bible needs to be the source in which we kind of form and figure out what does God, because I think God is plain in it. He's like, it does say what God hates and what God loves. And I think that's a part of us to figuring that out too. It's like, okay, if I don't know if this desire is evil or godly, like the first place I should go is the scriptures and even ask questions like, hey, like, what should I do with this desire? What, like, have conversations with community. So it's a good
welcome
starting
other
point.
people into it with wisdom and
journey. And then figuring out what to do then with that evil desire. Is that like, okay, now what do I replace it with? And how do I form this? Like, it doesn't mean I repress it, but I think going back to the habit loop you were talking, it's like, okay, like you've identified this want you have, or this craving that is leading someone or myself or whatever into ungodly behavior.
Yep.
And it's just like, okay, I clearly want something here. What do I replace it with? And that's where we can welcome the Lord into speaking to that and other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where community, I think, is big too. The habit loop, sometimes when I've taught that, I've focused maybe too much individually because I'm trying to give people practical tools. Because sometimes as I'm teaching young people in the organization we work with, other stuff, I feel like a lot of times Christians, we're told what we're supposed to do, but not how we get there.
Yeah.
Okay, you're supposed to live this great life. You're supposed to be more sanctified. You're supposed to look like Jesus. Okay, how? What does that look like day in and day out to do that? And I think people want the how. So that's part of where I've seen the habit loop as a practical how.
It's good.
But community is huge.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think Proverbs talks about this, but you will imitate your friend. You'll imitate those around you. So like you just said, SJ, in my journey, a way you guys could love me, and this would be like 1 Corinthians 6-8, I think it is, where food sacrifice to idols, and because Paul's like, you can eat food sacrifice to idols, but if it's going to cause your brother to sin, then you should give that up. So a way we can love each other, and Katie, to what you said, the Trinity is love is self-giving. So a way that we can love each other as a group of friends is, okay, Nathan's going through this we're going to be on this journey with him, and for the next few months or whatever, we're not going to watch those kind of movies.
Yeah.
Because we're going to journey with them, and we're going to help. In Galatians 5, I think it says, bear each other's burdens.
Yeah.
We're going to bear each other's burdens. We are the body of Christ together.
Yeah.
So we don't want to make sure we take on individualism, which is from secularism, and make Christianity this, well, that's your problem. You figure it out. We're going to go do our own thing. We're going to go watch our R-rated movie and do whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could do that, but but we could walk together.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's a journey together.
Yeah.
And Christianity is a religion together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's not a I think something that Christianity has to, and us as Christians has to combat majorly in our day and age, is this idea that Christianity is an individual sport.
Totally.
Christianity is a team sport. It's meant to be done in community. I mean, the God we image in and of himself is
community.
Is community.
Yeah.
And so it's like another way we image God is we participate in community.
Yeah.
We cultivate community and friendship.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's so
the
good.
way we love each other and the way we walk. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. It's so good. All right. So we're getting on that time. We'll probably have Nathan. We'll keep this conversation going. But Nathan, is there anything that you want to leave people with in this? Or Katie, do you have any final words or questions for Nathan?
I don't think so. I want to say thanks for being so open about your own story. I think it's so helpful for people to hear your process with it. I think that's going to be the thing that people have to hold on to with all of this. So thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah. And what would you say to someone maybe specifically who maybe is feeling a little stuck right now?
Yeah.
Like they're stuck in this I don't know whether to fight my desire or form it. I feel like I have this desire and I don't. They're in the journey of like I know this is evil. I know this is not helpful. Like, what would you say to someone who feels maybe a little stuck in how they're approaching their desire?
I would say, do you have someone in your life? So first, do you have someone in your life you've been walking with that knows you, that maybe you've been walking in this? So for me, it would have been pornography, and I was walking with someone in my life that can maybe help. Okay, I'm feeling stuck. I can't get out of this. I used to look at it every day. Now I look at it once a week or once every other week, but I want to like totally stop this. Getting wisdom from somebody else, I think, is good. And getting wisdom from someone that's further than you down the journey, I think is great.
Yeah.
It's good to have friends that you're walking with, but in some of these areas, you want to talk to someone who's further down the journey than you. Like if I want to know, okay, how do I have a good marriage and how do Kat and I stay married for 50 years? I probably don't want to ask the person that just got married yesterday.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I probably want to ask someone like my grandpa that were married for 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you guys do this? How did you get there? So I think we need to respect wisdom, and wisdom is usually, I mean, we can have wisdom as young people, but in those who have gone before us. So I'd say that'd be one thing, is talk to someone who's come out of this addiction, whatever it is, and see if they have some tools that can help you. And the two words I said, you need to be proactive and intentional. If nothing changes, nothing changes. So if you're like, oh, I really don't want to be addicted to pornography anymore, but I don't want to do anything to change that. good luck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you're just going to keep doing that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to be proactive and intentional,
That's good.
and you have to cut off the hand and gouge out the eyeball. So for me, it literally, I kept adding to that contract I had made. When I looked at pornography and I fell, I reevaluated and said, okay, is there something I could do? And there's not always you can do something, but is there something I could do to not put myself in that situation again? And slowly over months, over a year, that desire became less and less. But restrictions I had then, I don't have now. So for example, I got rid of, on my phone, I got rid of all social media. I got rid of web browser. I locked my phone out, and my mentor I was walking with, he had a passcode for it. So in order for me to download any app, you had to have the passcode, which I didn't know. So I had to do those things. Do I have that now? No, because I have come out of it. I'm on the other. So even as we talked about sin earlier, and I had these restrictions in place at that time, and you have to be pretty tight, especially and we have to call it an addiction. That's one thing too. If we're talking about pornography.
Yeah.
Sometimes as Christians, we're like, oh, I struggle with this. No, you're addicted to it.
Yeah.
We have to name it what it is, and it's hard, and I know it's tough, and I know people that are looking at it want to just say, I struggle with it. You are addicted to it. So you have, and I mean, all the studies show pornography, what it does to the brain in comparison to drugs and that kind of stuff, it does the same thing. It is very addictive.
Yeah.
So you have to treat it like an addiction, so you have to take it seriously. And then have people praying for you, have people you're walking with that way, and do all the things. Go to therapy, go to counseling, see, is there some traumatic thing that happened to me when I was young that's actually leading me in a certain way, and I don't even consciously know it. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of different prayer things you can do, and a lot of different Christian or counseling of Christians or Christian counseling that you can do. So that's what I would say. Someone who knows you, get wisdom from them, be proactive and intentional, and then really do pray into it and have people praying for you. And know that there is hope. I would say that if people are listening to this, they have different, I don't know if your dose of sin is pornography, but whatever it is.
Cocktail of sin.
Whatever.
Whatever.
Because I felt hopeless. I mean, I think we've all been there. You just felt like, man, I am never going to come out of this. So I hope that's why I wanted to share my story. I hope sharing my story will give you hope that you actually can come out of it. You actually can have victory.
Amen.
You don't have to be addicted to this thing for the rest of your life. You actually can reform your desires. That actually can happen. But it's going to take work on your part to make that happen.
Yeah.
Good.
That's so good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for sharing.
Yeah,
Nathan.
thanks for having me.
Yeah,
this is great, SJ.
You will be back always. Yeah. So are we good? Any questions?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, thanks for joining the conversation. If you have any questions or comments, just let us know what you think, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for being here. If someone came to mind while you were listening, share this with them. And wherever you are in your journey, keep trusting Jesus. He's leading you somewhere good. We'll see you next time.